sign-on bucket number one, as a bit of a recap, keywords to take away: SSO, or single sign-on, SAML, SAML, and sometimes you want to go a bit further than that. SAML 2.0 is the most up-to-date version of SAML, I believe, so it can get really techy. But in a nutshell, the objectives and the benefits and the opportunities of single sign-on both support increased usage, increased security and infrastructure to ensure that data stays encrypted and your people can seamlessly jump between technologies. It seems almost too easy to jump between two technologies, but the beauty of it is it's incredibly secure. Ultimately, happy employees and happy IT.
So a reminder, as we've gotten through the first bucket, keep in mind you've got that questions box. Enter those in now. Let us know, what are the questions in reference to the different integrations I use the word, integrations that you have tried to do. What specifically can we help you with today? Okay, bucket two.
Bucket number two. My personal favorite, I'm very biased, my personal favorite, because this is a win-win for absolutely everyone. So bucket number two, or also known as provisioning and deprovisioning. So getting your people into and out of technology. Now, this is a key component to implementing any new technology, any new software platform for your people. It's a great way to reduce the administrative burden of employee data management. So in human terms, provisioning enables data in one main location to update multiple locations, kind of like a group chat with all your friends, making sure that everyone stays up to date with all the relevant information. So if I look at a good example of how it should work, if we onboard a new employee right now, I'm sure as people leaders, many people on today's webinar will have had that painstaking process of uploading employees' information to perhaps your HRIS, then onto your LMS, maybe onto a security platform, onto Slack, onto Microsoft Teams, onto an engagement program, a record. There's an endless checklist of bringing one new employee on board when actually it should be a process everybody's celebrating. It should be something that's incredibly exciting and not a painstaking onboarding process. Many of us have onboarding tools and technologies that support us being able to do this. But provisioning of data is one of the ways in which you can seamlessly get information again from A to B and multiple other locations securely, and it always stays up to date. Now, key terminology to look out for again in the world of provisioning, and Alice kindly got it up on the screen, Sftp, or automated Sftp. So for those of you familiar with it, it will stand for Secure File Transfer Protocol, meaning where data can seamlessly in an encrypted fashion get between two locations and there's no human interaction. So there's no room for human error. Now, when some people think of provisioning of data, for those of you familiar with data, they might think, oh, okay, so that means getting an employee's name and perhaps their email address into another system to create them an account. You would be absolutely correct. That is one option of provisioning. But I mentioned at the start, provisioning of employee data and setting up integrations of getting perhaps information out from Workday or perhaps your ADP system or UKG or whatever it may be. The beauty of it is the sky's the limit when it comes to provisioning. Now, when we think of provisioning at Reward Gateway, we really want to take the opportunity to capture as much information as possible about an individual. Not because it's about capturing all your employees' data, it's about enabling administrators with valuable data and quantitative information on the back end and the reporting side of things. Because it's fantastic to know that one person is using your platform or one person is using a technology, but it is absolutely no value to the business if you don't know where that person's based, perhaps how long they've been with you, what team, who is their manager, what have they done in the past month. It doesn't enable you with the opportunity to enhance and develop your solutions. So when we think around the columns of all the information that is coming from the likes of Workday or Azure or whatever it may be, what we're thinking about is more around, yes, names, but perhaps pronouns, location, date of birth, who is their manager, when did they start working for you, any particular things that might be unique to this individual so that you can celebrate every single one of your people. Because Alex mentioned at the start around sort of your people being very important to you. It's an interesting phrase that I've heard in my years in the employee engagement space, and many of you will have heard as well, is your people are your greatest asset. Whereas actually, we're not 100% in line with that, because actually it's fantastic to have lots of people in a business, but if they're not engaged, they're not going to be that great in terms of ambassadors. So our belief is that it's about having the right, engaged and motivated employees. They're the ones that are your greatest asset. And the only way to achieve that is to use data to personalize what you're putting in front of them, making it unique and making it emotional for them.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to talk, as you talk about making things personal, I'm going to put up on the screen one of the ways that we've seen provisioning really save people time. We talked about reducing administration, and the opportunity for provisioning is this is a great combination of saving time, but also making for a really lovely employee experience.
Definitely. I think one of the best examples is when you can really personalize any engagement tool to an individual, it becomes emotional, it becomes memorable. You often hear that phrase, they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel, which is really, really important around any tool and technology, especially right now when many people on today's webinar, perhaps their people are remote and you're not seeing eye to eye, or you're not seeing them in person every single day. So having an emotional connection with your people is now more critical and important than ever. So a great example, as Alex brought up, is perhaps historically, many people on today's webinar might be familiar with service awards or birthdays, and perhaps you might celebrate your service awards of your peers and colleagues. Historically, we've seen a lot that it's been done maybe in a batch at the end of the month. So you get to the end of the month, you calculate all the people that have lived on their service milestones, you give them some form of certificate and award, and hey, on to the next month. But let's take it back a step and think about, well, if the data is provisioned, the right data and the right information is provisioned about when that employee started working for you, it's very, very simple, if provisioned in the right way, to understand the exact time they're going to hit their 5-year milestone, the exact day that individual will have an emotional connection to. So when provisioning the data, you know, the exact day they can be recognized on, that should then be able to be automated. Automate the ability to never miss an employee's birthday, never miss an employee's service anniversary. And actually with that data, not only can you use it to celebrate the 5-year milestone, but what about 1, 2, 3, 4 years? What about year 6? As we know in the US in particular, the average length of tenure right now sits at about 4.3 years. How are we going to get that up? How are we going to get it up? And it's around celebrating each time an employee sees a win or an achievement of perhaps reaching their 1-year tenure. So provisioning ultimately enables all of this to happen. But not only that, doesn't only enable the push things to go out to your people, but more importantly, it enables more customized messaging to your people. And this is the part which us and we and our clients really love, because this is where it really gets fun, is the ability to say, well, okay, so we know who X person is, we know who this person's manager is, we know where they're located. So this is really around how can we enhance the leader's experience and enable leaders with the right information to make educated decisions, choices, and participate and engage with their colleagues at the right time, especially around the right topics. So it's an example such as perhaps one of your team members' birthdays are coming up, or maybe they've done something great, or they've been recognized by someone and perhaps you didn't notice it straight away, but you need a little notification about it. So by understanding who your people are, who their leaders are, what their locations are, you have the ability to send customer-specific notifications immediately to leaders and the relevant people that message is going to be prominent to. They're going to be important to them.
Yeah, I think it's easy to see how you can save time by having the system automate an anniversary or birthday message, but that's really on the save time side of the scale. But to ensure a really great employee experience, I'll be glad I get that notification on Tuesday instead of 3 weeks from now. But that added level is my boss is going to get that notification, and they get to look like a rock star when they send me a text or they send me a very custom birthday or anniversary card on that day, letting me know that they're thinking about me, that they care about that milestone as well. And it's great to have technology help us out so that we can remember those dates.
Exactly. And I think if we look at on the flip side of the benefits of provisioning the right data, and I should mention sort of the setup process of provisioning should absolutely be something that can be a set it and forget it. Something that you can set up once and never have to touch again, because the data should automatically be keeping updated every 24 hours. If the right infrastructure is in place, it's something that you never have to worry about again. It's a switch on and go. But one of the biggest problems we often see, especially in the world of employee engagement, is the classic blanket communications. Blanket communications that drive disengagement. We often speak with organizations who say, we've been sending out email campaigns to everyone and we've been publishing posters everywhere and things like that, which is fantastic, but the engagement numbers have gone down. And we think, well, you know a lot about your people. You're the people that you're the people that look after, you're the stewards of your organization. You know a lot about the individuals. Now, what provisioning of the data and the right data does is enable things to be much more tailored. Let me put it into more real life examples.